Welcome to the AMP Members Roundtable series, an Officers Roundtable special edition. I'm Stephanie Decker, a 25-year member, approximately 10-year volunteer as an officer in the Central Florida chapter.
Hi, I'm Heather Hill, Director for Membership at AMP, and I've been with staff for 11 years.
I'm Donald Savoie. I'm a 15-year member and newly elected Vice Chair of the Houston chapter.
In this episode, we're going to continue getting clarifications and support from officers who have written in or submitted questions or clarifications throughout the organization.
Heather, when signing contracts for events, meetings, etc., what is the reasoning for having AMP approve those contracts?
So one of the reasons that we request to look at those contracts is that as a chapter in the U.S., you're actually entering into an agreement as AMP because you operate your chapter as a division or branch of the organization. So you use our EIN number, for example. So for that reason, it's just checks and balances and transparency and wanting to make sure that the contracts that are being entered into are acceptable for the organization. The other reason is we have so much expertise on staff. If you are signing a contract with a golf course, for example, we have staff that put on golf courses on a regular basis. Or if you're booking with a hotel, we have staff that book with hotels on a monthly basis. So we can look at those contracts for you. And as a service, we can look at it and say, look, this contract's fine, but 5.2, you need to mark this out, and I wouldn't sign it until the vendor removes that clause. So there's a lot of expertise on staff that can help review those contracts and make sure that you're entering into a really solid agreement that's beneficial for your chapter.
We recently, when I say we, the Houston chapter recently reached out to Cindy Tracy to do a survey for us for our meetings. We had, 15, 20 questions that the board approved, and she sent it out on our behalf. What other services and resources are available to the chapter members?
So I will say this, it never hurts to ask. Just because we haven't done it for a chapter before doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for us to develop a new tool, a new resource, or something that can assist our chapters in doing their work. I'll give you a really great example. A lot of times chapters need help with marketing and marketing for very specific events. And so through staff and working with our marketing team, we've actually developed some templates that are online. It's through Canva. It's a free platform, but there are branded templates that are available for meeting notices, Facebook posts. And let's say you go on to the Canva tool resource that we have and none of the templates are working for you. Reach out and ask. We can develop some of that marketing collateral. So if we create a tool or a resource or a template for the Houston chapter, there's 95 other chapters within the organization that can use it too. So feel free to reach out and let us know if there's a resource that isn't developed yet. And we're happy to create something that can be utilized by all the chapters in the organization.
Heather, short courses are becoming even more successful, 1 day, 2 day short courses within the chapters, especially post-COVID. Can a chapter partner with headquarters on an event?
Absolutely. There's a new director to our conference and exhibits team, and they are currently working within the conference and exhibits department to develop options for partnering with headquarters for events. And they're looking at a variety of options so that the chapters can pick a solution that best meets their needs. So to give you an example, they're looking at one option where they would develop maybe some checklists and timelines, because if your chapter wants to host something on your own, but you just need some resources to help get everything kick-started, they would be able to have those resources and steps provided to you. And then they're also looking at what do partnerships between chapters and our headquarters conference team looks like and what we can offer from headquarters to support those regional events. So the conference team is working on it now, and I'm sure there'll be more information very soon on what opportunities and partnerships are available.
Are all these services free?
So it depends. There are a lot of services that AMP offers at no charge to our chapters. There are some partnership agreements. I'll use education agreements, for example, where there's a partnership that is a revenue share plan. And then there are some services that are at a minimal cost. So we do have a marketing package. If you wanted to purchase a marketing package for your chapter that includes emails, an ad, and a few other things, it's very nominal fee. However, we also have those resources and tools to help you do it yourself as well. So it's really, again, just trying to meet the chapters and their needs from the staff side and what's going to work best for you and your chapter.
So a starting point would be if we were within our chapter looking at or discussing having some type of event, we should reach out to Cindy Tracy or you and start the conversation so we can at least establish what we're looking at, what the options are based on that event, rather than use perception or information from other folks based on their events. We should see, because we are a new organization, AMP has new resources and tools available. So what someone did 5-10 years ago doesn't apply today, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. Reach out to Cindy, reach out to myself. We're happy to help and let you know all the resources and options that you have. You may decide that your chapter wants to host an event on your own and you don't want to go through headquarters, and that's okay. But you may find that it's more beneficial for your chapter to either partner with us or use some of the tools and resources that have been developed so that you can better execute as a officer on that event. So again, it's meeting you and your chapter with the resources and tools that you need.
Scholarship applications. Why can board members not nominate their own family for a scholarship application?
As a 501c3 nonprofit, there are certain rules and regulations established by the IRS that AMP and our chapters have to follow when distributing scholarships. One of those IRS laws is that they prohibit the personal or private benefit to an individual from an organization. So by giving scholarship funds to your children, for example, that would be a violation of the IRS and would put our nonprofit status at risk. Now, AMP does have two options for scholarships to be distributed. One is that you can actually partner with Emerge. So if you partner with the Emerge program at AMP, you can set the criteria for your scholarships. You can establish the name of your scholarship, the amount of your scholarship. You give Emerge the qualifications, and they will execute that scholarship on your behalf. The other option is that the chapter can run their scholarship program with their membership, but it's going to limit the recipients due to the IRS restrictions for a nonprofit. So you wouldn't be able to have relatives or children that could accept the scholarships from your chapter.
So if I understand correctly, if we go through Emerge, you give them the amount, the qualifications, and that then removes the stipulation of a board member nominating their family.
Correct. So you would work with Emerge to establish your scholarship, what that scholarship is for. If it's in memory of a member, you could really define what that scholarship is as the chapter. You give those funds to the Emerge program. Emerge is going to establish and execute that scholarship on your behalf. So that removes the chapter and the chapter officers from the process, and just it clarifies it for the IRS that we're not personally benefiting from the funds as a nonprofit. So that separation allows officer children, for example, to accept scholarships if run by Emerge.
Also, on that subject, it was my understanding that Emerge would, with the chapter's help, have a review committee within the chapter, and that if there were family members that were related to an officer, that officer would just not be part of that review committee when the scholarship was distributed. Is that correct?
Correct. So if you know of someone that is applying for that particular scholarship through a merge, you would need to remove yourself from that review committee, because that's what would put us in jeopardy with the IRS and our tax status.
Okay, perfect.
Heather, I was at a chapter meeting and I heard a rumor that any event that the chapter hosts that brings in more than $10,000 is taken over and ran by AMP. Why would someone say that?
It's definitely a rumor. I can confirm that headquarters does not have the intention or even the resources to take on all these additional regional events. It's just not possible with our staff size and resources that we have. There are plenty of events now that exist that are very successful and very profitable and continue to run within those regional chapters and groups. So that's not the intent of the organization, I can say for a fact. Now, if a group wanted to partner with us, we would definitely be happy to do a partnership for events, but we're not looking to take over any events that are profitable.
Heather, how was the first round of elections as the AMP organization? How did that go?
I think as well as can be expected. With the merge, there are instances where we're going to feel growing pains, and this was one of the areas where we definitely learned from how we did it the first time. The Membership Program Committee has a process outlined for how chapter elections will occur every year. And one of the things that that committee has done is review the feedback and information that we've received from this past year and past election cycle and determine how we can do it better for next year. We've already identified some process improvements. We can do some system integrations on the back end from a staff side to make it more seamless for our membership. But I think you're going to see that each year we're going to execute these elections and we're going to learn from it and we're going to grow and do better next time.
Speaking of the self-nomination process, did that work and are we going to be keeping that going forward?
So we are going to keep the self-nomination process. Again, it lends to an open and transparent process for the chapters. But this next coming election, one of the things that is going to be implemented is the ability for the current governing board to select candidates for every open position. So in addition to open nomination and those self-nominated individuals being on the ballot for that chapter, you're also going to see candidates that have been selected by the governing board. We couldn't implement it this year because there wasn't a governing board that could do the selection of those individuals. So that will be added to the process moving forward.
And how is that process going to work? Is AMP going to email the new board, or the first board, I guess you could say, of this year?
Yes, it's part of our process timeline right now. So before self-nominations go live, Cindy Tracy is going to reach out to every chapter governing board and confirm all of the opening positions that they'll have for the next term, and then ask for recommendations for each position that is open that will be included on the ballot.
Heather, I know a member that tried to volunteer. He was told there were no opportunities, and then he went even further to self-nominate for his local chapter. He was asked by another member within the chapter to remove his nomination, and he did. What can you tell me about that process and how AMP feels about that?
Stephanie, we have open nominations and open elections for a reason. That is the direction that the AMP board wanted to take the organization. So the fact that you can self-nominate for positions is reflective of the direction that the organization wanted to go. The positions are posted online, and any member, the only requirement is that you're a member in good standing that belongs to that chapter to put your name in the hat and be considered by the chapter membership. And the process is revolved around that to be very open and transparent.
What can you tell me about communication moving forward to and from the local chapters?
Stephanie, I'm really excited. Communication is one of those things. Anytime I meet with a member, anytime I'm in front of a chapter, communication is top of mind. How we can communicate better, what does that look like? And at the local chapter level, the chapters report to the membership program committee, and we realize that there's a gap in that information moving up and down the chain. So the membership program committee has a proposal right now that's going to be considered at the next board meeting to create a new level of organizational structure to help support the chapters. We're hoping that it's going to get approved and we can roll this out very soon and share it with our member leaders, because I think it's going to be very beneficial in how communication is shared from the organization to the program committee and then down to your grassroots chapter level.
Thank you so much for everything you've clarified and answered and commented on today for officers. I know for myself personally, I've learned a lot. I think it's great to provide these resources to all of the officers out there. It's very exciting post-merger, where we're going, what we're doing. We're partners in this together, volunteers, officers, staff. And so it's super exciting. I'm super excited for AMP. And other officers and members that are watching these roundtables that we're doing, where can they reach you and where can they find AMP in general on social media?
Of course. You can always reach out to me via email. My email is heather.hill@amp.org, or you can connect with the organization through our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram.